Hi, I'm Daniel Hammer, Deputy Director of the Historic New Orleans Collection, and welcome to the heart and soul of the collection, the Archive and Research Center. This is where the stories that haven't been told are housed. Here in the Archive and Research Center, over 1 million objects are stored. Our staff works with the materials to find the subjects of our next exhibition or the images and materials that will be featured in our next publication. We are devoted to access here at the Historic New Orleans Collection. A central part of our mission is to do everything that we can to make sure that our collections are available for people to research. Our past is filled with untold stories, things that we haven't yet even thought of. We have a large staff of people who describe the collections, they provide access to the collections, and also they know how to handle objects that are sometimes very fragile and very rare. So now I'm going to take you back into our storage facility, sometimes we call it the vault, and show you some of our collections. I'm going to show you some things from an area of particular interest for me, which is our collections relating to the history of German-speaking people here in the New Orleans region. So los geht's, aber nichts anfassen. Ah! So this is our vault, as we like to call it sometimes. It's really a specially designed space where we house our collections. This building was actually built after Katrina in the year 2007, and it features a lot of important Katrina lessons learned about disaster preparedness. The materials in our collection are, for the most part, very sensitive to environmental conditions. It's important to keep them at the right light levels and at the right humidity levels and the right temperature levels. And so we're very careful to make sure that we can maintain these levels even in the event of a hurricane or a power outage or what have you. When most people think about research access to collections, I think they probably think about paper and documents, but of course our collections are very diverse in terms of the materials that they contain, many different types of objects. Here you see paintings on storage from really 3 centuries hanging on these movable racks. We also have many different types of objects, works on paper, artifacts stored in a variety of drawers and flat file units. Another important point about our storage is that it's really done in a way to facilitate ease of access for researchers in the reading room. These drawers here that hold materials of different shapes and sizes, different types of three-dimensional objects, everything from gold coins to plates and cups and saucers and all sorts of objects from history. So I've picked a couple of really special objects that tell the story of Germans in New Orleans and Louisiana, and I've gotten them off of the shelf and brought them out, and I'd like to show them to you now. You know, when you think about it, we all speak English, but there are many other languages that document our history. In fact, there's a lot we have to learn about American history through the eyes of people who spoke languages other than English, who wrote in languages other than English. And German, to be sure, is at the top of this list because much material was produced in this country in the German language. And this goes back really to the origins of this nation and certainly to the origins of Louisiana. In fact, and this book was a book about Louisiana published in 1720, just 2 years after New Orleans was founded in 1718. It's a very rare and fragile object, so we keep it housed in this thing we call a phase box, which is made out of archival paper, non-acid paper, something that's made to preserve the object. You'll see that this number here is held within the box. This is the call number for the object. It tells our reference staff where the object is located in the vault on the shelf and makes it possible for them to go and access it for you if you were to request to see it. Now this book, if you open it up here, I'll place it on this book cradle, which is designed to support the book while it's open so that there's no undue pressure put on the binding of the book. And you'll see that this is a German language production. It says, Ausführliche historische und geographische Beschreibung des an dem großen Flusse Mississippi im Nordamerika gelegenen herzlichen Landes Louisiana. So this is a book about Louisiana. Published in Leipzig in the German language. I think most people are aware that Louisiana was founded by the French, but This doesn't mean that only French-speaking people were coming here, and it certainly doesn't mean that it was only of interest to French-speaking people. In fact, this pamphlet was really produced in an effort to get people to invest in Louisiana. They were trying to sell shares in the Company of the Indies, which was a concern that was just, well, really, which was more interested in making money than it was in populating the physical, actual colony of Louisiana. And there were German-speaking people that came here in the year 1720 and founded a colony upriver from New Orleans in a place that came to be known in French as the Côte des Allemands, and we still know today in English as the German coast. The other materials that I've gotten here to show you today are from a collection that we have here called the Deutsches Haus Collection. And this is material that we have acquired from an organization that still exists here in New Orleans today, but which dates back to older organizations that existed in New Orleans in the 19th century, the earliest one having been founded in 1847, the German Society of New Orleans. And what we learned from this material is that there's incredible amounts of information about the history of this city and about the experience of being a newcomer to this city that is in the German language, not in English, but in German. And this is the Jahresbericht der Deutschen Gesellschaft für New Orleans. This is the compiled annual reports of the German Society of New Orleans, an immigrant aid organization that was established in 1847, and they produced yearly annual reports documenting what they had been up to over the course of that year. And they were very detailed and very well organized, but they are all in German. So there's a great narrative about every year here where you see who the society helped, what they struggled with, how the German position in the local New Orleans society was, all sorts of information, but it's in German. So it's a barrier to access for a lot of people and a reminder of the importance of foreign language in order to understand the American experience. These German materials that I pulled for you today, this is just a story that I find interesting. But there are a million objects in our collection, and for each of those objects, there's an untold story that's waiting for you, the next historian, to discover and tell to the world.